all of us who love Fayetteville and love Fort Bragg understand that there are great things happening here and there are great things happening in North Carolina. Happy birthday, America. Happy birthday, America. It's what it's all about. From the Pacific to the Atlantic today, people will be celebrating the birth of this country and memorializing the care and the service and the love and the loyalty that veterans throughout this country, generation after generation, have displayed for North Carolina. Senator Rand exemplifies that kind of service here with this leadership on this Veterans Park. You know, recently I was at the airport in Raleigh, seeing off a group of veterans on their way to visit the World War II Memorial. And later that week I was in Washington and I took a little bit of time to go to the memorial. And as the tears strolled down my face, I was overflowed with emotion. Today as I walked up to this Veterans Park and I saw the flags from all of the branches of North Carolina and America's services, as I saw so many of you, the veterans, the men and women who gave their freedom for others' freedom, who fought like you fought for this country, my breath was taken away again. North Carolina is a perfect home, the most military-friendly state in America. That's North Carolina, and where but Fayetteville and Fort Bragg and this state should we put this kind of Veterans Park? We have the third largest population of active duty military in America on the soils of North Carolina. And today those soils are mixed in the park so that every county, every citizen, every veteran can come here and visit and feel a part, a place of their heritage. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, and the Coast Guard, and yes, the North Carolina National Guard are part of the service of the men and women of this country. They're men and women who have sacrificed their abilities, their lives, to keep our life free. They fought in the service of freedom, one war after another, one deployment after another. The enduring flight and fight has made America the greatest country in the world, because around the world people understand clearly that we stand by the flag of freedom. 235 years ago, a group of patriots, taking a chance that nobody around the world believed could be taken, banded together to form this country, the greatest country in the world, the country that we call home. So it's very fitting that on America's birthday we meet here to celebrate the opening of this new North Carolina's Veterans Park. As we speak, in our state, we have 147,000 active Guard and Reserve duty troops deployed in North Carolina. We have 795,000 veterans and their families who live in the state. Those are big numbers. Those are big families. Those are big dreams and big goals and big aspirations that have lived a life of service for America. This new park today, a gift, a partnership between the public and the private sector, made on the behalf of all 9.5 million of us who call North Carolina home, is a dedicated and fitting living memorial to the men and women from every service branch who serves our country. To dedicate a park to those who have lived a life of service in defense of our liberty carries a potential personal story. As you'll see the men and women walk through the park today, as you see the veterans touch the stones and touch the hands, remember that their service represents a real story, a real life, a real family in North Carolina that serve this country. July 4th is a big day as we celebrate the military and as we celebrate the service. But every day in North Carolina, we honor the men and women who serve in our military. We understand and thank them for their unselfish service to our nation. From the battlefields of our history to the battlefields of today, we in America proudly salute the men and the women of the military. So on this day, whether they're retired veterans here or whether they're serving in the war on global freedom, let us all recall that North Carolina is indeed the most military-friendly state in America. God bless America, God bless North Carolina, and God bless all of those who served this country and who served this country so proudly. Happy 4th of July.
The Iron Mike statue behind you here between the North Carolina Veterans Park and the Airborne and Special Operations Museum stands on boulders. We especially want to thank Steve Latham of Toccoa, Georgia for his generosity for those boulders. And of course, many of you World War II vets will remember Toccoa, Georgia is a site where the very first paratroopers trained during World War II. We also want to recognize that all of the granite used in the new North Carolina Veterans Park is from North Carolina, Governor. And we're glad to have William Swift, the CEO of the North Carolina Granite Association, with us today. And now we have a very special group that we want to introduce to you. Back on September the 23rd of 2010, the governor sent a letter to every chairman of every county commissioner in the state. And that letter asked them to become engaged in this process, to select 100 veterans who would have their hands cast in bronze from each of the 100 counties of our state. Those veterans whose hands were cast in bronze, those 100 veterans, would you please stand now? Two of those veterans who answered your call, among those 100, have already gone to glory, passing away in the last 2 months. Venner Davidson, Jr. of Currituck County, Charlie Beck of Davidson County, other veterans who had their hands cast and couldn't be with us today include Will Harrison, who just celebrated his 101st birthday. Okay, he's from Guilford County. He sent us a message that he was going to be at a cookout in his backyard, but he wasn't cooking. So, but there are some great veterans with us today. Veterans like John Pugh, 97 years old, from Randolph County. Cecil Taylor, 92 years old, from Gates County. And George Sloan, 93 years old, from Wake County. And of course, those of us here in Cumberland County and Fayetteville, North Carolina in particular, are very proud of our veteran representative who had his hands cast in bronze, Don Talbot, who is the commander of American Legion Post 32 that I'm proud to be a member of, Don. Glad to have you with us today. We'd also like to thank the city, in particular the city manager, and Craig Hampton, the project director, asked me to please publicly thank the Content Committee for the work they did in this Veterans Park. The Content Committee represented all 5 branches of the military, as well as the Veterans Group, and as Dale Lyman said, they were kind of like the conscience of the planning of this park, and we thank them for that. And also, I don't want to forget the 400 other veteran supporters who had their hands cast. As you go through the park, you will see these people's hands. Those 400 hands represent those in all of our communities throughout our great state, Governor, who volunteer and provide support for our military veterans and their families. Let's give them a round of applause, too. It's a distinct privilege and honor to introduce to you Joe Riojas. He's the Assistant Secretary for Operations, Security, and Preparedness for the Department of Veteran Affairs. A retired 4-star general, Joe was born in Kansas City, Missouri. Joe, Dale and Tony and I and a bunch of others were out in Kansas City just 2 weeks ago for the All-America City. We know you got no good barbecue because we had some of that Gates barbecue while we were out there. He had a 30-year Army career. At the Pentagon, he served as Chief of Army Requirements. His wife is here with him, who is a retired Army nurse today, Susan. His son is an Army captain serving in the Special Operations Forces at Fort Bragg. His daughter, Christina, is an Army captain serving as an Army surgeon at the Eisenhower Medical Center, and his daughter-in-law is with him today too, Rachel. Joe, we're proud to have you with us.